our clients, but as well, how we can help ourselves. And what are some of the perceptions that we have about this kind of energy, catabolic energy, anabolic energy? How are we using it in our own lives? So that's where I think it can get really interesting. So Greg, maybe we can just jump right in. Let me just say one more thing before we do that. Greg emailed, or did you post it in the Facebook group? The
form or the go by, I posted a copy of it in the private Facebook group today.
Okay, great. And so that is just it's a little worksheet. I'm going to review it at the very end. It's the last slide of the presentation, and you'll be able to see it. And I'll talk about how I use that with my clients. And you all will have a copy of that to use as, however you want to use it. So that's helpful. And then what I'm also doing is sharing a corporate workshop a corporate exercise that you can incorporate into a one-day training, et cetera. So we'll talk about that later. All right, so yeah, let's get started. So Greg, I'm gonna have you, just click one at a time, and I'll tell you when to click because some of the slides are animated, if you don't mind.
All right, you should, hopefully everybody is seeing the presentation. I'm going into presentation mode. There we go. We're all set, Barb, so.
All right. Energy Leadership Mastery. All right, so Greg, if you would be so kind as to, start with our first slide. There we go. So energy leadership, it is all about resonance. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that word just because resonance, it's kind of like the word in level 5 when we talk about reconciliation. It's kind of like, what is that? Resonance, what is that? We are talking about energy after all. And the word resonance comes from the word or also means resound or resound. And so when we talk about voice, it's a waveform that's coming through a cavity. But really what this is it's reinforcing a waveform because the natural frequency of an object is the same as the frequency or the source of that frequency. So this is why when a singer, an opera singer sings, that crystal glass has its own vibrating resonant frequency. And in fact, all objects have their own resonating vibrancy frequency. And that can be measured scientifically by using an oscilloscope. So when a singer sings, that particular pitch or amplitude matches the glass's resonant frequency. And it becomes so strong that it cannot actually hold the tension anymore and the glass breaks. So we've all heard the story, you know what that is. But if we go back to some of the basics of what we taught in iPEC, that energy is made up of moving, vibrating subatomic particles, and every object does have its own resonant frequency. That's something to think about when we're thinking about our clients. Our clients are individuals, they have their own resonant frequency, and that's what the ELI is measuring. So now when we talk about energy, we're talking about, it's really that an object is free to vibrate at a specific rate, and that's called its resonant frequency. So this object will vibrate strongly when it's subjected to vibrations or regular impulses that are equal to or very close to its natural frequency. Now, here's where it gets interesting when we talk about anabolic and catabolic energy, and we're talking about, when we talk about how energies can match, but they can also be what we think of as opposite, but it's not really opposite. So we talk about two victims can really resonate together because they're like, yeah, me too, and oh my gosh, that was terrible. But you also have a victim and an abuser. So when I was doing a little research about resonance, I want to read you this sentence because it's fascinating. And it said, this phenomenon is called resonance. Through resonance, a comparatively weak vibration in one object can cause a strong vibration in the other. I just thought that was fascinating. When we think about a victim comes to the situation as weak, powerless, It can actually make the abuser's energy get stronger. So that's the other interesting thing about amplitude and about resonant frequency, is that in simpler terms, we're talking about matching energy, or we hear people say, oh, I really resonated with that idea or that concept. There's an amplification that happens. So if we translate this to human energy, the energy, and this is scientific, I pulled this from a very in-depth article on physics, and this is what it said. The energy that you put into a system adds to the energy that is there. That is like, think about that for a moment. When we're thinking about connecting with people, when we're talking about this energy with our clients. So what happens is the energy that we bring to a situation can increase the amplitude of what is already there and add to it. Now, this is the mechanism of spreading gossip. So one person gossips, the other jumps on, and we're adding to it. It's also the mechanism of spreading joy. So I guess, my question to you would be, what is the energy that you add when you walk into a room? So if we can think about this in those terms and think about that as the background highlight when we're talking with our clients, that's really what we're talking about. And, all humans, especially coaches, we hear all the time, I just want to live at level 6. So Greg, go ahead and click the slide there. So we're all experiencing all levels of energy. Now, the thing that I see the most, and I saw it a lot, I was a lead trainer with iPEC for 10 years, and in a lot of contact with a lot of students and a lot of grads. And the thing that I would hear most commonly is, I just want to be living in level 6 and level 5 all the time. So there's still, that still happens where people are still trying to know it's better to be in these higher anabolic energies, right? So that's not always true. And I can see, Shantae, that you wrote in the chat room, yes, I'm trying to figure out how to not let someone's draining negative energy get to me, right? With a big LOL there. I'm actually going to kind of speak to that a little bit, because I think the biggest mistake that we can make, and of course, there are no mistakes, but the biggest misperception that we can have about these energies is that it's better to have more anabolic energy. And I'm going to go against the grain and be the salmon swimming upstream and say that is not true. That the real goal of what we want to do is help ourselves normalize our own energy, because when we do that, it strengthens our internal core and our internal sense of who we are. And so I'll get into that a little bit more, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So on here it says, all levels of energy are perfectly normal given our, and go ahead and click to the next one, Greg. Current situation and past experiences. We're getting both. So a current situation, like Shantae, you were saying, my God, I'm resonating with these people, their negative energy gloms onto me like Velcro, and I'm walking away with it, carrying it with me. That's a current situation. But it also includes whatever your past experiences are that have taught you to react to that energy in a certain way, and that have helped you create your own perception about that energy. And so, Greg, click again, and then click again. This really is about our perception of stress and our reaction to stress. So there's an internal perception of stress that matters much more than stress management. And this is where we get caught up with our clients. We get caught up in their story, and we're trying to do the external management of something. How do I deal with it when my boss always comes in and barks at me in front of the entire team? That's an external situation, but what we really want to do in coaching that person is help them get a sense of who they are and build that inner core so that they can look at it differently, because when they look at it differently, they can react differently. So it's a little bit of an inside out piece. It's internal versus external locus of control. So remember that when you're coaching someone who's really stressed, because it's not just about coaching to their stress. I really dislike the term stress management. Why do we want to manage our stress? Let's just view it differently. Let's look at what are our personal triggers that make us believe that situation is stressful. So I'll give you an example. Many of you have asked me if I knew who Leslie Piketty is, because she is a trainer in Chicago. And I trained her when she was going through to learn how to become a lead trainer. And we would have such a blast because she is so much fun. We have similar resonant frequencies in that fun is one of our top values. Well, we were talking about how as a trainer, you're juggling many things. And this is the same with you. If you're doing a corporate presentation, you're juggling many things. Not only are you delivering the information, but you're also having to deal with things that are unexpected. You know, like the time that we were in the room doing a training and literally there was a rain shower coming out of the ceiling out of nowhere. Okay, what are we going to do with that situation? How are we going to react to that stress? So one of the topics we talked about was dealing with the pressure of learning all the material, being able to stand up there and be, you know, entertaining and make it fun and make it interesting. And what does that pressure feel like? And Leslie said, I'm a performer, I'm a jazz singer, I love pressure. It actually heightens my energy to show up in my best self. And we were talking about this with another trainer who was learning how to become a lead trainer, and they were in the opposite place. I hate pressure. It makes my brain go crazy. I can't think straight. So everybody has their own concept of what is stress. So the thing is that we're not just coaching to their stress. We're coaching to their perception of it and what are their personal triggers. Now, the greater impact that you can have with your clients is to help them in shifting their perception of what is stressful to them. You're also, like I said, building up their core, their identity, creating strong, energetic boundaries. So for someone like you, Shantae, I'm sorry to call you out. I just saw it, and it's like the perfect thing to talk about here. And I know you're willing. Thank you. Is when you're able to create those strong, energetic boundaries for yourself from the inside out, other people's negative energy, quote unquote negative, other people's catabolic energy is going to bounce off you like water off a duck's back. It's going to roll right off you. So there's something in you that has an opening to let that catabolic energy come into your core and carry it around with you like a nice, huge piece of luggage. Stick to you like Velcro. So not only does energy attract, but energy is contagious. So being able to build ourselves up from the inside out and understand what our personal triggers are is much more important than stress management. So let me just pause for a second because I'm talking about a lot of stuff and I'm missing out on all these awesome chats. So I want to just pause and check in. So Greg, maybe you can.
We're actually doing good. Everybody's just acknowledging and validating everything you're saying. So
Okay.
Right on the money. You're right on the money. There's no outstanding questions really. Everybody is definitely interested in hearing about the corporate piece.
Okay.
Blowing their minds about this resonation and the effect of not only mirroring the resonance, but actually increasing it.
Yes, exactly. Yep, exactly. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to the next slide. And so just one click. Yep. So let me put it out there. I'd love to see in the chat room, just looking at what is our job as coaches. So Greg, just click one more time. Is it our job to help them shift to higher levels of energy? Because as we know, when clients are in higher levels of energy, they actually do better. They're more productive. They're more efficient. They feel good. They get inspired. They're moving. They're they're going forward. So type in what you think. Do we help them shift to higher levels of energy? Yes or no? I see nobody's typing. Okay, so here we go. Yes, yes. I think so. Awareness, we may, absolutely, yes. That's not our primary job. I say no. Okay, Joy. Okay, Joy. So Greg, go ahead and you can click. No. It is not our job to shift their energy. So, you know, I'm sorry, I set you guys up for that. I'm sorry, but it's just because I love that buzzer sound. Come on, how fun is that? So, no, it really is not our job to shift their energy. Now, wow, what did we go to coaching school for? What did we learn the energy leadership framework for if it's not to come on, if it's not to shift to higher levels? Yeah, Greg, epic fail for you if you thought that was yes. You're so sweet. Okay, somebody, Shantae, I need to get a refund. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's the cool thing about shifting to higher levels of energy. We can do it. We can help our clients do it. It's all about when. It's all about timing. It's all about utilizing it consciously as a coach. So I want you to be in your head and your heart in thinking of it as truly serving the client in the best way possible for them and utilizing your intuition, getting comfortable with feelings and what the client is going through, and knowing that shifting them to higher levels of energy only happens when appropriate. So go ahead and click to the next slide there. Yeah, and click again. So our job, first and foremost, is to be the mirror for them, helping them see themselves. And what I see with a lot of coaches is they initially think, yeah, it's, we're gonna hold hands and skip down the lane together. I'm gonna support you, client. We're a partnership and all that. Sometimes our job is to hold their feet to the fire and to challenge them too. So we're the mirror that's showing them not only their enormous, amazing potential, but also what's really blocking them. So I want to make sure that you're not buying into their story. And I know we talked about this in class 100 times over, but I'm talking about it in terms of energy leadership. Don't be too quick to want to shift their energy and that's a form of fixing. So again, it's like it feels great, right? It feels so good for you as the coach, so it's an ego thing, but you miss out on a much deeper opportunity for their transformation. So when we're trying to shift them right away in reaction to a story that they had, it does two things. The first thing it does is it skips the deeper meaning for them to help them understand themselves better, and you just miss that opportunity. Secondly, you are sending a subliminal message to them that they aren't okay exactly where they are. So Greg, go ahead and click. So there's our cute little Frenchie bulldog who sees himself in the mirror. And sometimes that's what we're doing with our clients. And they're like, whoa, is that really me? Now it can go both ways. It can go in the anabolic. And that's the power of the ELI, is that, when they see themselves in that anabolic, like when I do that thing I call the big who statement, and it's seeing, I'm sorry, we can go ahead and click so we don't keep looking at that crazy, crazy mirror. Okay, perfect. It's, I forgot what I was saying, so whatever, we'll have to go back and you'll have to go back. No, don't really go back in the presentation, Greg. It's okay.
No, you were saying that it can go either way when they see themselves in their energy shift. It can either be anabolic or catabolic reaction.
Yes, exactly. And so they see themselves in this mirror And it can be a little bit shocking for them, because sometimes we are challenging them or having them face something that they don't want to look at, right? Okay, so what do we want to do? Our most important job, so go ahead and click there, is to, look at those, understanding that those reactions to stress can be a conscious choice. Now, let me talk about that for just a moment. That's an internal construct. So again, strengthening their core of getting connected with who they really are changes everything for them. It's much more efficient than the mental game of trying to change one's reaction to the stress. We want them to understand their reactions. And once they have strengthened their core and they know who they are and they're connecting their values and their talents and their gifts, then it's a conscious choice how they're going to respond. It becomes more, I guess I would say, organic. So go ahead and click again, Greg. So here's the most important one, and this is the biggest one. Just if you take anything away from this presentation, this is the one. Our job is to help them accept and embrace their energy wherever it is on the scale. That means us getting comfortable with our own energy as well. Perfect. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. That is the correct answer. Okay. No, that's great, Greg. Perfect. So here's the thing about that. It's embracing on both sides of the scale. So if we go to the extremes, I'm just going to talk about the extremes rather than each level. Go to level 1, embracing level 1, embracing that in ourselves, allowing ourselves to be in it. Going to level 7, 5, 6, 7, when we feel great and we feel joy, embracing that. I can't tell you how many times I've been working with corporate clients where they are not embracing their joy. When they hit an achievement, they go click right on to the next one, and they don't stop to breathe and embrace it and celebrate it. And that's one of our biggest things that we can do, is really help them embrace their energy wherever it is on the scale. That means you getting comfortable with it in your own place. So, okay, so go ahead, Greg, and click to the next one. Okay, so here we have these darling kids. God love them, man. They're just going to keep on paddling, right? And so the most important thing that we can do with our clients is helping them mindfully process what their feelings are about a situation. It's really easy to skip over it, and especially in a corporate setting. Don't buy into don't let the client lead you in that way. Don't let them skip over what is really going on for them. Without mindful processing of their feelings, they're going to try to keep doing this paddling, underwater, using up enormous amounts of energy. And I see that this is more like a level 3 idea. It could be even worse than that. It could be whatever. Or we might look at this and we might say, oh, good for them. They're having a blast. There's nothing wrong with the situation that they're in. But to the client, it feels like they're about to drown, and they don't want to feel it. It's uncomfortable. So they just don't want to deal with it. So people will do anything to avoid the pain of facing their feelings, either because they've vilified their feelings, they've judged them as bad. And that's on both sides of the scale, people. So like they can vilify joy and, well, I don't want to get too excited because then I know I'm going to hit, the shoe's going to drop, the other shoe's going to drop, and I'm going to be sad. So they tend to mute both ranges of the feelings. The other reason that people don't really process their feelings, they may not know how. And when somebody doesn't know how, they want to avoid it. It doesn't feel good. It's not familiar. They feel stupid. That's not a fun kind of thing to do. But when we as coaches embrace our clients' catabolic energy first, without trying to fix them, without trying to shift them, what we are doing is modeling how to how to do it and to create that space for them. So I'm seeing a little question. Yes, you're right, Jackie. Shifting to quick is not sustainable. That's very true. Denise, how do you help a client with stress triggers that have them at 90% of level 1 and 2 when they're miserable with this? Right, great question. Here's why they're miserable. Because they're not dealing with it. They're trying to keep it in their head. They're not connecting it in with their body. And then I do a whole thing on body wisdom where a lot of times people are just living, with their head like, no, I'm okay. Or even at level 1, I can't move in my body. All they can say is that they feel exhausted. So helping them parse out a little bit more about what those feelings actually are, identify the feelings, have them talk about where they feel the feelings in their body. Being able to say, I know this is crazy, but what would it be like to just allow yourself to feel this, for an hour, for a day, for this week? Observe what happens. Observe what's happening in your body. You're starting to get them into awareness now. What are the reactions of people around you? What kind of productivity are you having? Have them journal about it, etc. To really process what it is rather than just feeling miserable and wanting to get out of it. It's because they're not dealing with it. The other thing that's happening with someone with 90% level 1 and level 2, they're continually getting triggered over and over again because their perception of the world is everything is catabolic. So they get triggered over and over and over again. They get overloaded. So it's like this unconscious energy that's running like a silent program, that's like a silent software program in the background. And they're always looking to confirm their catabolic perceptions of the world. So helping them understand what those perceptions are, write about them, talk about them specifically, where did that idea come from, and really parse out what that is going to help them. So understanding that it's one and the other. They're getting stressed and going down into level 1 and 2, but level 1 and 2 also keeps them in level 1 and 2. So being able to kind of talk about it that way. Stress will also trigger this is the way I like to put it. Stress will trigger unconscious energy that they're not dealing with when they're in level 1 and 2 from old self-defeating patterns of protection or patterns of safety or patterns of coping. So being able to help them connect that with its gremlin stuff, its childhood stuff, but we're always bringing it back into the present, can help them go, oh my God, I finally get it. That's why this keeps happening over and over again. This is very similar to a situation, blah, 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 in my childhood, or 2 years ago, or whatever it might be. So remembering that stress for people that are stressed out or in a catabolic place, it's triggering their unconscious energy to emerge from these old self-defeating destructive patterns of trying to cope, trying to protect themselves, trying to find safety. Now, this is really important in, Greg, you can click once so we don't have to I'm sorry, I keep seeing that. Okay. This is very important in the corporate world, and I see a lot of coaches doing corporate coaching where it's all about leadership, productivity, results, but they're not really dealing with the feelings, and feelings aren't exactly rewarded sometimes in the corporate world. Those corporate people are just thirsty for someone to recognize the stress and pressure they're under, and also to recognize their accomplishments. So being able to see the anabolic feelings as well. And so that can really help. Let me just look at a couple questions here. Yep, this absolutely describes my client's childhood and past. Yep, it's really hard to go there because it's like porcupine that pops up to protect her. Yep. Yeah. And okay, so that's going to happen. And it's helping her see that tying it in with present day, how it's still connecting, is still keeping her in that place over and over again. So being able to process it, doing the gremlin exercise with her, being able to really work with the gremlin and give the gremlin a new job, all that kind of stuff is really going to help. Breakthrough laser coaching, someone's asking about that. Helpful in working with clients' stress reaction? Yes, it's fantastic for in the moment Especially if they're like, I've got a board meeting in an hour and I just got this terrible news. I'm freaking out, blah, blah, blah. Yes, breakthrough laser, fantastic. The only thing about breakthrough laser is that it's not necessarily going to do some of the deeper, more paradigm shift breakthroughs in terms of transformation. But I love that tool. I use it. So yeah, very good. Okay, so let's take a look at this slide. If we are not helping our clients process both anabolic and catabolic feelings, what we're trying to do is, as a coach, if we're skipping over their emotions, what can happen is we're partnering with them to plant a flower garden on top of a garbage dump. And doesn't matter how many flowers you plant. No, it's okay. They're saying, I'm fine, I'm fine. No, it's all right. They don't want to look at it. The garbage is under there. I don't want to deal with it. Doesn't matter how many flowers you plant. It's going to stink, right? So as a coach, if you skip over their emotions and you allow the client to also skip over those emotions, together you're planting this flower garden on top of the garbage dump. They haven't dealt with their stuff. They are trying to push it down. That's why validation is so important. So especially with your people that, I just got an ELI debrief back today from a client, and she's, oh my God, 4-1, no, 4, what was she again? 4 something 1 or 4-2 something. She had one, maybe it was 4-2-1 with a 1-2-3 reaction. So, and she's phenomenally productive. She's killing it, man. She's a lawyer and 30 years and, very respected in her field. And she's also dying out there. She's suffering. She's burnt out. So she has for years stuffed down, because she has a lot of primary level 4 energy. She loves to help others and she's always saying yes. And then she always gets overloaded. So she doesn't want to deal with what that means when you say no. If she says no to somebody on a really deep level, to her, that means that she'll be kicked out of her tribe or she'll lose her place in the tribe, because to her, being of value means helping. So if she says no on a primordial level, that means she'll be kicked out and not seen as valuable, which means a lot to her. So that's where we want to really connect with that. Okay, so Deb, you're saying couldn't processing their emotions take a very long time in many cases. Now, how do you know they really processed them and ready to move forward? It doesn't have to. You can give it as homework, or home play, as I like to call it, because who wants to do work? So I call it home play. So you can give that as home play. And a lot of it can be awareness exercises. Notice how you're feeling when la, la, la. What does that feel like in your body? Come back next week and let's talk about what you experienced, all of that. So you don't have to sit there with them and process the feelings with them. And you'll know when they move forward, because when you validate them, they'll show a shift, or you might even ask, so what feels different for you? How does that change for you? And they'll be able to tell you, and the words that they use will tell you what level they shifted to. Oh, I feel much better. I feel like, God, I could actually help someone right now, or whatever it might be. Okay. I know I love home play too. Okay. So let's go to the next slide and go ahead and click again. I say, when people are stuck in level 1 and 2, help them make snow angels in that garbage dump. So go ahead and click again. Greg. Who doesn't love Homer Simpson? Come on. All right. So this might feel antithetical to what you're thinking coaching is about, right? Because it's like, oh, we're here to make our clients feel better. No, we are not. We're here to help them get comfy cozy in their catabolic energy. That sounds crazy, but what? but helping them to learn to sit with all their feelings, experiencing them in the body. A lot of people in the world aren't even in their bodies. I call it being out of your body. It's like they're going around the world, they're doing their thing, they're not connected to what's in their heart, they're not connected to their intuition, and they're just trying to move from the headspace, and that's because we're always problem solving all day long. It puts us in our left brain, where we're analyzing all the time, if this, then that. So we're not used to, as a kid, we were always in our right brains, imagination, play, all that good stuff. Studies show that creativity, kids, show something like whatever, their creativity is like 80% of the time their creativity is showing. And by the age of, 6 or 7, it's gone down to something like 20%. Because why? They've gone to school and now they're having to learn, and they're getting in their left brain and it's whatever, play is not encouraged. So just really, really interesting. Okay, so let's move to the next slide here and look at some of the common phrases that we hear with clients. I'm just going to kind of talk to the catabolic stuff. No, I'm fine. No, it's okay. Or the whole level 3, like, no, I'm okay. Like you're in the kayak paddling and it's sinking. No, I'm fine. I'm doing it. Or, oh my God, I wasn't even aware of that. So again, we're being the mirror to show them just by really this deep listening. Another one I hear all the time is, God, why do I keep doing this? Arg! And they're so frustrated because they find themselves caught in this dynamic or this pattern, right? Another one is a corporate client just said this to me the other day. I know it intellectually, I just can't seem to change it. So they're understanding from this headspace, and they get it, they see it, they know it, they see the patterns, but how do they translate that into the organic change? Well, now we've just moved from the awareness phase, and you guys, this is what I like to say about coaching. And anybody who's been my student, you would have heard me say this because I say this over and over again. 80% of the coaching engagement is really awareness. And you might go, like I coach in 10 session blocks, right? I tell the client, I prep them ahead of time. We might do 6 or 7 sessions where 80% of the home play you're doing is around awareness. But what happens is right around that 6th, 7th session, your body wisdom and your inner wisdom start to put it together. And that's where we go from awareness to focus. Oh, things are starting to snap and happen, and they exponentially start getting it. Then they move into the action phase. So they may not see a lot of action or changes in the external world in the coaching engagement. So I call it AFA for short. That's just I'm making this up. This is what I make up. AFA, awareness, focus, action. So keep that in mind. That's something that you can tell your clients, and especially with energy leadership, because it's such a potent system, there's a lot to learn with it. And so awareness is huge for them. Okay. All right. Another one that I hear is, this, I feel out of control, like someone else is operating my body. And my client, who is the lawyer, she has to go in, and she works for a real estate firm, a huge worldwide real estate firm. And she's constantly juggling a million different things. And she has to basically tell HR or whomever, hey, that project is very high risk. Here's what's going on. And then they're not hearing her. And she's getting more and more passionate about it. And she's making her argument, and it's turning off the people in the room, and they can't even hear her. And her comment is that she often feels out of control, like she sees it happening and she can't control it. She doesn't know what to do. So I want to go to the next thing for us all to experience. This is similar to this guy. Go ahead and click.
What did they say? Check the prompter. The prompt is fine. Evan, read the copy, please. The copy's good. Just read it.
The White House Reception Committee greeted the prime rib roast minister, and I do the cha-cha like a sissy girl. I like a do the cha-cha. I'm sorry, we seem to be having some technical difficulties.
Oh my God, you guys. I'm sorry. I laugh so hard every time. I just love it so much. It just makes me laugh. So, what, Greg?
I'm crying.
I know. Oh man, it's so good. That movie was Bruce Almighty. Was it Bruce Almighty or was it the other one? Evan Almighty. No, I think it was Bruce Almighty. So funny. Okay. So this poor guy, right? He's just struggling. So go ahead and click to the next thing. But go ahead and click. Yeah, there we go. So this is where I love that clip, because sometimes our clients are just like, and they don't even realize that they're coming out that way with garbled, or whatever. So we can be that mirror and try hard not to laugh at them. Okay. So what are we talking about? We're talking about using the energy leadership framework to help them become aware of their energy and to use their energy consciously wherever it is on the anabolic catabolic scale. So go ahead and click to the next frame. Okay, so this is going to demonstrate we have a range from level 1 all the way to level 7. So I'm just going to show you 2 funny clips related, just to kind of keep in mind we have this huge scale that we can work with. And so go ahead.
Where am I? The pit of despair. Don't even think. Don't even think about trying to escape.
Another great movie, The Princess Bride, another great thing. So level 1, yes, they're experiencing it. Yes, Wesley, oh my God. They're experiencing it as this super, super negative. They're judging their level 1. Of course they are, because they're miserable in victimhood and powerlessness. And so we want to be, attuned to that and talk with the clients about judging their own energy. And because all that does is add on, and it amplifies the frequency.
Just leave
So the
all
more
this.
we're judging our own energy, it's amplifying what they're experiencing.
No, I mean the thing I'm gonna.
Maybe somebody could mute themselves. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so you see, okay, extra bonus points for naming that singer. You will get major bonus points. Yes, it was Tiny Tim. Yes, and so this song, instead of Tiptoe Through the Tulips, was something like Living in Sunshine. And so this is what I see with a lot of coaches, a lot of yogis, a lot of people that are on a spiritual enlightenment path, is they want to live in that level 6 and 7 all the time. And I call it going to the den of Zen. But that can also serve as an escape for us to not really look at what our stuff is really about. So again, being conscious of both the catabolic energy and the anabolic energy, because it's helping clients really embrace where they are. So what I wanted to show is using the framework if you just click once, Greg, I want to show you, so I've drawn my janky drawing This is, someone's walking along, and go ahead and click one more time, and they've fallen into the pit, and they're in level 1. You know, they're really miserable and they're really struggling. So go ahead and click one more time, Greg. If you look at the person in this pit, their point of view, their vision is very limited. When they look straight up out of that pit, all they see is the one cloud in the sky. But to them, it means there are clouds everywhere. They don't see that the sun is shining, that there's a tree over there, all these other things. And so the one thing that I want to say about kind of like the order of things that you're doing when you're coaching, I see a lot of coaches doing like a visioning exercise in the first or second session. I actually recommend against that. And here's why. Think about it for a second. If someone, especially if you already, you know that the client is struggling with something and that's why they're coming to you for coaching, their ability to do a visioning is limited with whatever level of energy where they are. So if they're having, even at level 3, maybe the arrows go out just a little bit, but their visioning isn't big enough. So actually what I recommend is coaching with them on their gremlin, or on, you know, staying in their feelings and processing their feelings, kind of clearing the fog for them to do a visioning exercise that just does them much more justice. So go ahead and click again, Greg. So as coaches, we're helping them kind of climb this ladder with the appropriate timing. So first they've got to kind of process their feelings, move through it that way. And then as they climb up the ladder, go ahead and click again, Greg. Let's say they climb up, click again. And so here they are now, and then click one more time. Now their vision is much wider, and they have so much more available for them, and they're seeing themselves in a much bigger way. So it's having those awareness of what their triggers are, so that we can help them get off the Groundhog Day experience of doing it over and over again. But it's backwards. You don't do it by shifting them out of that level. You do it by helping them sit in that level and embrace the energy, understand the energy a little bit more, process their feelings first. Because the client can't really move forward if they're in a catabolic swamp. You know, that's where they're kind of stuck. So this, again, anybody who was my student, you would know that I would say all the time, every day, every other minute, validate, validate, validate. And you could, you know, whatever's going to help you validate more often in your sessions, making little hash marks or whatever is going to help you, that's going to be the single most powerful thing you can do for your clients and for yourself, is just embracing their energy where they are and not trying to shift them. So I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I use the energy. Okay, so we can click out of this, Greg, and then I can talk a little bit. What?
Yeah, you want to focus on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry. Yes. So yeah. So we can talk about this. So this is a chart that I adapted from iPEC's coaching approaches summary, and actually someone else adopted it, and then I kind of built on it. And I see that when I sent it to you, Greg, I sent a PDF that I can't tell, but I think it's missing the iPEC logo, but I always throw the iPEC logo on anything that I have that's 7 levels of energy or any energy leadership stuff, so that when I'm doing corporate presentation, but I think it left when I tried to do it for this slideshow. Anyway, okay. And if it's not on the PDF that I sent you, either add it yourself or I'll find mine that has it. So anyway, so when I was talking about doing the ELI, and I'm saying I don't review the 7 levels in the ELI itself, I do it afterwards in the next session. And I use this chart to do it. So we can get a little more into depth with it. So we're starting with this first column, the core, thought, emotion, and action. And what's some additional information, because it rounds out a little bit. Like look at level 1, like overwhelmed, embarrassment. I mean, some of these words are really, thank you for your cursor there. Yeah. unproductive, self-doubt, right? So you're giving the client a little bit more well-rounded picture of what level 1 is, but now go to that next column that says solution finding. And this is just a reminder, yeah, when you're stuck in this place, this is where you are going to tend to hide from problems. You are going to resist engagement, you know, because you're overwhelmed, you're embarrassed, you're drained, whatever it is, and you can validate them. Now, before I go to the next column, let's go up to level 2. And here's the same thing. In the additional column, there are a couple other words in there like resentment, micromanaging, having success, but still focusing on problems. So yes, and you are going to get a copy of this. Greg has it. How are you going to distribute it again, Greg?
It's already posted in the private Facebook group. However, I am going to attach it to the email when I send out the link to this recording.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so here's what's so cool about this. Let's say you have a client who is steeped in level 2. It might even be in their energetic profile, let's just say. So you're saying to them, and again, using third-party stuff, yeah, so what we see with a lot of people with level 2, experiencing it, just like you're experiencing it, there are lots of different ways that it can come out. Anger is only one of them. So Greg, if you take your cursor there to the additional part of level 2, yeah, and so it might be about, maybe you feel yourself blaming other people for what's going on, or you could say it in third party. You could say, we see other blame come up. It's the tendency to blame. You might even see this in your colleagues. Let's say you have a colleague that is showing up who is really, everything's a struggle. They feel a lot of pressure. They're micromanaging. You immediately know that that's level 2. By the way, sometimes when I'm first introducing this, especially with executives, and especially if I know the executive has a lot of level 2, I'll present this as a tool to recognize the levels of energy in other people rather than themselves, so that they can learn it and not feel defensive. Always thinking this one. Okay, so then we go to the solution finding. So people with a lot of level 2, they're going to fight to win this challenge. They're going to, they find themselves getting into conflict. They may even love conflict. Like my client that I was telling you about, my lawyer client, she loves conflict. It energizes her. So we don't want to change that about her. But it also is for her to see where it's draining her, because some of it's coming unconsciously, or it's her behavior all the time. Like when she gets passionate about the case, about something's a high risk that she's trying to advise them on, everything she says has the same tone. So this is an opportunity for her to see, hey, let's parse out some of that. So you're using your level 2 energy consciously, right? All right, now we'll just do one more, the level 3. So you guys are getting the picture. You know what I'm talking about. You can read what it is. But let's see. Let's start with level 2. So say someone's in level 2. They're really, really stuck, and you're helping them process their feelings about it. And there they are. Here's how I help them learn how to shift themselves. I call it borrowing from the level above. So what I say is, hey, look at that level 3 for a moment. Pick something in there that you think you could, just find yourself playing with that concept a little bit. Like it might be finding relief, okay? That second one there. It might be finding relief. So let's just borrow that concept. See what that might feel like to every time you're feeling a lot of that level 2, that you actually, if you want to go back, that you are, playing with this concept of relief. See what happens. Or it might be instead cooperation. See what that would feel like, just to say, I'm just going to cooperate and see what it is. And I say, it's like dipping your toe in the water. You don't have to commit to it. You still are allowed to have your level 2 energy. You're still allowed to feel resentment or to feel struggle or whatever it is. You're telling me, client, that you're that you don't like being in this place, this level 2 place, let's just experiment with what it feels like to step out of that. So if you look at the right, there's that my choice of engagement column. It's where they can state in their level 2, write out how are they choosing to engage at level 2? Because now all of a sudden it flips it in their head like, oh, this is a choice of mine. I am choosing to stay in conflict. What's my choice of engagement if I choose to play with the idea of relief or cooperation or keeping my emotions in check? Or it might be finding something in the solution finding column or facing the problem rather than fighting about it. So you guys see what I'm talking about here? Let's see. So some things. Yeah, from Terry, it's the intention behind the energy level when choosing a level. Yeah, here's what's tricky about that. The client is experiencing either a thought, an emotion, or an action, right? So yes, there's intention, but that might be unconscious for them. So we want to help them grab onto what they can tangibly grab onto, if that makes sense. So yes, you're right. The intention is to move to a different level, but they may not understand their intention of staying in level 2, let's just say, right? So this is just a process to help them tangibly grab onto something that moves. And so, yeah, we kind of do that. Now, look at level 3. And this is what I love about this chart, because I end up with quite a few executives who have a lot of level 3, and that's how they cope in their world. And they're dealing with, mergers and acquisitions and pressure and all this crazy stuff, right? And so they constantly default into a level 3 way of dealing with the world. So what we can do now, instead of moving them up and borrowing from the level above, now we can play with, wonder what it would be like to drop down into level 2. And finally, get mad about what you've been tolerating for so long. You've been in a place of I'm fine, and life ain't terrible, but it also ain't grand. So when you get in touch with your level 2 energy as a choice to play with it and see how it goes, you can start to practice with getting in touch with what's really going on a feelings level. Because, Mr. Client, with level 3, a lot of times we're not connected to the emotions of what's going on, and we're living from the headspace, and we don't even realize how upsetting it is for us, and keeps us there and keeps us stuck. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Anybody?
this. I love Elizabeth's comment. It reminds me of going to the eye doctor. Do you prefer 1 or 2? 2 or
Yeah, exactly.
which was more clear? Classic.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So when I'm doing an energy leadership presentation, I might use this as a handout and kind of go through it like I just did. And in the my choice of engagement column, if you're introducing it as recognize the energy level in other people, is to say, yeah, so clearly if you're working with somebody who's stuck at level 3, they may not realize that it's a choice for them, because a lot of this almost can be unconscious for them. So to be sensitive to that, right? The other thing is to remember that in the higher anabolic levels, so let's look at level 5. So again, there's this focus on the opportunities, what is right. It's a reminder to look at what is right. It's a reminder to stay in this place of positivity, calm, whatever. What can you grab onto that helps you there? Now you'll notice that there's a change in the word, the core thought, opportunity, because what I was finding was that the word reconciliation is the correct word, but people would get caught up in it, and then I'm in a 10-minute conversation talking about what reconciliation is. So I'll still talk about what reconciliation is, but the way I'll say it is, so when we're really at level 5, accepting the situation fully, at peace with what's happening, and we have the trust in ourselves to know that we can make it a we win, we can reconcile differences, and that helps us see the opportunity more clearly. So I might say it something like that. But again, borrowing from the level above, if they're at level 5 and they're really just, remember that's a mental level, remember the odd levels are mental, they may be, that kind of paralysis by analysis kind of thing, deer caught in the headlights. They might not be connecting with their joy. It might be all about work and making it happen. And so helping them get connected with level 6, being able to access their intuition. And it's just, again, borrowing from it. We don't want to live at 6 all the time. It just is not functional at all. So to be there all the time anyway. So yeah, anyway, that's that. So let's go back. So yeah, so we're done now. So we'll come back and come into some questions, and I can talk a little bit more about the.
I did get a question off to the side, but I think it might be a question that a lot of coaches are wondering about, and I just wanted to get your feedback on it. So a lot of people are asking about this form itself to use in their own coaching practice. With the iPEC logo on it, is that something, as long as it's branded with the iPEC logo, is that something they can do? Can they take this and use it themselves?
Oh yeah. That's what this is for. It's, again, iPEC's mission is changing the world one person at a time. We can do that by doing a training where you're simply educating them about the levels and helping them understand them and move their teams forward. So yeah, it's just, putting that iPEC logo on there, saying, this was something that I learned from the coaching school from which I was graduated, which is iPEC, and say a little thing about iPEC. Yeah, absolutely. I want to address this awesome question, Deb, about would resilience be part of level 5? Anybody who'd like to take a shot at answering that? I know what it is, but would just love to see if anybody. Think about resilience and what it's about. It's bouncing back. Can't remember where, but I know I've seen this in the iPEC material. Yeah, 3. It's 3. Yeah, it's level 3. And that's when you're doing an ELI debrief with someone. If they're primary level 3, that's a great word you can use is, wow, you really show up with a lot of resilience. Anything that comes your way, you might get knocked down, but you always pop back up. The reason it's not in level 5 is that in level 5, you never thought it was a problem in the first place, and you never got knocked down from whatever situation came your way. Rather, you accepted the situation exactly as it was, looked at the opportunity, and went straight into making it happen as an opportunity. Yeah, yep, it's 3. So great question, because that can be a little confusing. It's like, wait, where does resilience go? That's where it goes. Why is forgiveness the core emotional level 3? Love that question. A very specific reason. And Greg, if you could take, I guess let's stay on here because it's helping us go through this. With level 2, resistance, it's digging heels in. It's not letting go. It's staying stuck. I'm not going to forgive you because you hurt me, because you're making me mad. And it holds that person stuck in that place. They can't move forward. And they're certainly not resolving what's going on in the relationship. As we move into level 3 and we start to take a look at that core thought responsibility, start to take responsibility for the dynamic between 2 people, now there's this opportunity. If we're able to forgive, we're able to move on from that resentment. And then we are obviously functioning better. We're able to start resolving what's going on between 2 people. Shantae, good for marriages. I want to come to your worldwide comedy tour, Shantae. Come on. Hilarious. Okay, does that, Jay? So assumes a relational scenario. Yeah. Now, great question, Jay, because guess what? When you see a lot of level 1 and 2, and especially with those judgment questions that I reviewed in levels 5 and 7, people are judging themselves and people are not forgiving themselves too. So the relationship can be with themselves and they haven't forgiven, especially the guilt question in level 1, number 1, the guilt question. If you have a lot of guilt, or you're just not letting yourself off the hook, you are going to have a tough time getting up into level 3 without forgiving yourself. So that's a huge one. In the corporate world, forgiveness. When you have somebody that, and I don't have do I have a, I'm looking for the question related to with people, when people, I'm okay with, it's level 2. When people, shoot, do I have it? I don't have it off the top of my head. When people, I accept others at the level where they are or something like that. I can work with people, what was that question? Oh, shoot, you guys, I'm sorry, I don't have a, can you look, Greg, on or somebody look on your laptop for the question about, I can work with people at other levels, whatever that was. It's in level 2, I believe, and I just happen to not have that one. Anyway, that one is, if somebody has that and they're, let's say you're working with an executive or working with somebody in the corporate world and they're having a tough time working with people they don't like. I think that was the question, working with people they don't like, or working with, accepting others exactly as they are. Forgiveness comes into play there too. So it might be because somebody did something to them that they're just mad and they're on the blacklist now. And so they're not moving forward from that. So that could be a topic that you're actually coaching them on. So I hope that makes sense. Level 331, but I don't know what the sentence says. Level 331, let me see. Anyway, we don't have to spend time on that, but you'll know what I mean when you look at it. I can't access it on my screen right now because it won't let me do it. I can easily put differences aside. Thank you. To work with people I don't like. Fantastic. Yep. And so this is a forgiveness issue. The person, they've got differences and they're never going to reconcile it. So they haven't forgiven them and they can't move on. So then how are they going to do it? So that could actually be a topic that comes up in your coaching. Okay, any other questions? Oh, Jill, why would resilience be viewed as rationalizing? It's not. Resilience can be part of being a team player. It's part of operating. Yep, resilience is not necessarily viewed as rationalizing. Did I say that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Remember that level 3 is the interim level between the catabolic energies and the anabolic energies. And someone could have 3, but they've just gotten into level 3 and it's a low level 3, a more shadow side of level 3. I'm just barely coping, right? And so they might be rationalizing a lot or tolerating a lot to just get by and cope. Whereas the higher they go, and there's quite a range in that level 3, it's the one level that has quite a range from very low level to very high level 3. They can be quite resilient, and absolutely level 3 is a very useful level that can help people be part as a team player. So it's just watching that it's not chronic and that kind of thing. So they're 2 different things. Resilience is not being viewed as rationalizing. So I don't know what happened there. Does that make sense, Jill? Let us know. Yeah, so can you provide an example of a my choice of engagement response you may find when working with a typical corporate client with any of the 7 levels? Yeah, so it might be, let's say they are in level 2, just because it's colorful. They're in level 2, they are admitting that they're in level 2, they're recognizing they're in level 2, they don't mind being in level 2. They might perfectly be happy. No, I feel justified in being angry. So we might say, okay, so that's actually something to celebrate, because you're making the choice to stay in level 2 from an awareness place, from a conscious place, rather than getting hijacked by unconscious level 2 that's going on for you. So that actually, as a coach, that really helps me help you, because you have awareness about it. And you know, that my choice of engagement, you can utilize that level 2 to create a result. And it's probably going to be a short-term result, but you still can create a result. So it might be that. It might be that, and then we'll say, so how is that level 2 working against you? And let's say they say, well, I'm getting this feedback on my 360 that I'm really, you know, barking a lot and all of that. And I don't like that because apparently the team isn't getting along. Okay, so then if they want to start flipping it to a higher level of energy, this is where, again, you can borrow from the level above. Okay, what can you utilize in level 3 to help you start to make a conscious change with some of that level 2 energy? And the response might be something like, I don't know, I guess I could work on emotions in check, okay, so what would that look like for you in my choice of engagement? So how would you engage differently in this situation if you were keeping your emotions in check? And the answer might be like, I bite my tongue, I pause and breathe a little bit before responding, I might have to walk away. That might be the action step they're taking as engaging, okay? So Jill, yes, it makes sense. Rationalizing is the core of level 3. Resilience seems higher than, yep. It's really the beginning of letting go of judgment. Resilience is moving away from groupthink. Yep. And so that's again, that's why I was saying you'll see that resilience in that higher embodiment of level 3. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about this chart? I just want to make sure. We've got 10 minutes. Darn it. Okay. So let's come out of the presentation here.
Yeah. Well, let's dedicate the rest of the time to questions. So keep putting your questions in the chat window, and Barb will keep monitoring and answering while I stop sharing this. And I can see all the coaches' lovely faces, screens, and phones. And we got Nancy representing. I see you, Justin, the Patriots hat.
So Greg, are you able to get out of screen share? Yeah. Oh, okay, great. Oh, you're the best. Okay, thank you. Because I'm like, where am I? Okay.
Problem.
Okay, so can I just add one thing before we go to questions? Because I do want to share some of the corporate stuff that I do with the 7 levels in terms of a training. I do go in, I might do a 1-hour lunch and learn, I might do a half-day training or a full-day training. And all I'm doing is teaching them this wonderful framework. So I might go, talk about what is anabolic, catabolic energy. Of course, I'm sharing that this is coming from iPEC, that this is also the framework from which I coach. So even if it's just a 1-day training and there's no coaching package that goes with it, it's a great lead-in to close on a coaching package because it's so powerful. So sometimes I might do a 1-hour lunch and learn. Normally I would charge, $3,000 to $5,000 for a 1-hour talk, depending on how many people are there. But I have done many for free, and it's a fantastic way to just get in there, get your face in there. They're going to love you. They're going to love the material. You just do a quick 1-hour overview of anabolic and catabolic energies. And I maybe don't even go to go into the levels and talk about how seeing ourselves and talk about resonance and that kind of thing. But if I do go and do a free talk, I'm always going to ask for something. So I'm going to ask for, then I always ask, what's your budget? They're going to say, we don't have a budget. Great. Then what I'd like to do if we're doing this for free, because I believe in you guys, I believe in what you're about, and I want to share this, I would like to ask that I'm allowed to talk about what my coaching is and offer complimentary sessions on this clipboard here where people can actually write their name, their email, or have do it digitally or whatever. How do I get to do it? How do I get into a corporation? Do not go through the human resources department. You're not going to get very far. Right, Greg?
Right. Yeah, no. They aren't the ones making those decisions.
No, we need the little buzzer sound. Do not go
Hey,
to the
Barb,
input.
before you answer that, can I just insert here, because
Yes.
I don't know if any of the other coaches can validate this for me, but you were a lead instructor for iPEC, and some of us recall vaguely that iPEC during our training mentioned that we weren't really allowed to take this kind of information and turn it into training and go provide this as training. Can you just clarify our approach?
I can.
Yeah,
I can.
sure.
That is true when in the context of training people to become coaches. We're not training them to become coaches. We're sharing a framework that helps their team or helps their whatever, and we're crediting iPEC with this system. And maybe we're even providing the book, Energy Leadership. And all of that gives iPEC exposure. So it's a really positive thing. So just make sure that you're crediting them with that. You can even, I say, teach a few basic coaching skills. A lot of the skills are not iPEC owned, like acknowledging and validating, like empowering questions, values, or don't use iPEC specific values exercise, do a different exercise or whatever. All of those things, you're teaching the skills not to help these people become coaches, but to help them borrow from the field of coaching to be a better VP or whatever it is, right?
That's perfect. Thank you for the clarification. So it's just like when we were in school, cite your work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. So getting into a
How do you get
company, go to a lot of bigger companies have specialty groups that are their own employee network groups, like a diversity group, like an LGBTQ group, like a women's group, like a women VP. I did a talk at Allstate for this group of women VPs. There were 65 women in the room, and that was really cool. How did I get them? I went to a regular networking group that we have one here in Chicago called Professional Women's Club of Chicago. And I just go in and talk about what I would do. And I would say, sometimes I was too busy with clients, and you may be sitting there with like two other coaches are sitting there right there too. And you get your minute to go around the table and talk about what you do. And I would always say, I'm actually not taking clients right now because my schedule's, I've got a waiting list, like 3 months. But what I do love to do is come in and do speaking engagements. And I always find that people, love that. And, and I might give an example of a topic, from anything from work-life balance to, whatever, how to deal with, and whatever it is, make up the title. Then they go, oh my God, we would love you to come to our group. And it's their diversity group or their whatever group. And you're just constantly, and I'm always asking, if I do a presentation, I always say, if they belong to their own, like if it's nurses and they belong to a nurses association, who would I contact at that nurses association, et cetera. And that's how I do it. So I'm getting in there, I'm exposing it. And sometimes last time I did a presentation, they contacted me to do a 1-hour talk. I got on the phone with them. And by the time I was done, 20 minutes later, it turned into a 4-hour, I was leading and being the MC for the beginning of their full day conference. So it's really fun to be able to close on those. And it's just because it's having a familiarity with the words I'm using. I didn't even talk about energy leadership with those people. I was talking about my own stuff about body wisdom and all that good stuff. But I've got that energy leadership framework in the back of my mind to be able to articulate helping people learn and shift and change, right? So, yeah. What else? Diversity groups are a great channel, yes. Stacy, I'm in human resources and I would welcome this content. Okay, yes, I love hearing that. Here's why I was saying about, and I didn't mean to vilify HR, but a lot of times, Greg and I are like, no, don't do it. The reason is that what I found, and I was doing a lot of knocking on doors HR, is a lot of times they may not be in the weeds of what's going on in particular departments, because it hasn't escalated to HR, so they don't even understand the need really, or they're just, or they might be like, no, we do that already ourselves. Sometimes it can feel a little, I have actually had feedback of, went and called on somebody in HR, and someone was in the company who was friends with them and who actually said, I don't want anybody else coming in here and doing these presentations. We do these ourselves. So there can be some almost like an intimidation factor that I have found. So anyway, different ways to do it. But by going to the special groups or departments, they are familiar with what they need and what the challenges are for what's going on. What else? I was going to see if there was anything else that I wanted, but questions, please give me more questions. Let me just see if there's anything else that I was going to, education on the levels. Yeah. So, okay. So I've given you this, energy leadership exercise. It's pretty self-explanatory, and, I just wanted to share a quick minute on that. But first, let's look at Terry said, I just presented energy leadership to our SHRM HR local chapter. Your local SHRM chapter. Fantastic. What a great idea. That is fantastic. I love it. Okay, so let me just describe this energy leadership exercise quickly. It's really super fun. You get people in the group to get into groups of 4. They can be from the same department, or they can mix it up. Have them quickly identify or discuss situations they experience that are creating catabolic energy, because it's easier to start with catabolic. Have the group pick one. Here it is. Thank you, Greg. And as a group, then they discuss that situation. They identify the initial feeling, the unproductive thought, and the energy level. Give them about 5 to 10 minutes. That's page 1 of the worksheet. And then after they've done that, have them look at the situation from each level. So here's the worksheet. Identify the challenging situation, having them identify what's the feeling, what's the thought, and what energy level is it. But the power comes in this next one. Look at the situation from each energy level and discuss how you might approach it differently. So cool. Because now they really get into it, and they're starting to see, oh my God, if we really came from this at a level 1 point of view, they might even be recognizing Susie down the street does that. She is, she's the one person that's really consistently doing this level 1 stuff. No wonder. So it really helps them. And of course, whatever level they identify, they're also going to do that with that level as well. No, this is not after everyone's taken an ELI. You don't have to have everyone take an ELI to do this. This is just an education on the 7 levels framework, and it's a great lead-in to sell the ELI, to be able to educate them about this and say, wow, you're learning about these 7 levels, and you're learning about catabolic and anabolic energy. Imagine if you could find out what your personal energy shows up like. We have an assessment that shows you how your attitudes, perceptions, and beliefs affect you in the world, and they may be working for you or they may be working against you. And the power in this assessment is that not only is it consciously recognizing what's going on, but the assessment picks up what's going on unconsciously for you. It's really powerful. So imagine if you could do that, and that really might be good to do. So something like that. Yes, you're going to get a copy of this exercise. Because I love you all so much.
That's phenomenal. I just told everybody I'll attach that when I send out the copy or the link to the recording. So the
Okay.
copy. Can I also attach your presentation slides, or is that really?
Well, the only thing about the presentation slides is that it really is geared for coaches.
Okay.
So let me see if I can go just kind of comb through it and see if I can switch that up. And I spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah, not the presentation. I'm sorry. The PDF that it was missing the logo.
Oh my God, of course. Yes, that is what.
I'm going to attach. Yes.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, the energy leadership chart.
Yes.
Yeah. The slides won't really make sense, but feel free to watch the recording again and take the information from it. It's geared for coaches, so that's why it just, yeah.
I just popped this up here because somebody had asked to see page 1 again. So I hope you're going to get this to read through it and it'll be yours. So I'm going to stop share so we can focus on some last minute questions. And we have, oh, you know what? Actually, time is up. We are at our stop time and I want to respect everybody's time here. But listen, you know what, Barb? I learned when I stopped recording, the chat is actually downloading as well. So I could go through some of the questions that might not have got answered and maybe send them to Barb and we could do a quick Q&A and I can post those responses back into our group.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll do a quick look. So yeah, I think that's it, everybody. I hope this was a great week of ELI. I've really enjoyed, I just want to, I really need to thank Barb because while she's spent a total of 3 hours this week with us. That's 3 hours that she's not coaching her clients. So Barb, thank you so much for devoting your time to our group and to just make us better coaches.
Oh, you are so welcome. It was my absolute joy to spend time with you, and thank you for hanging out with me and sharing, and oh my God, all the participation. I really appreciate that. It was so much fun. One of you said, please come back for more. You know, I would love to. I have so much knowledge and wisdom I can share, anytime.
That would be great.
If you tell me what it is that you're, things that people are wanting to know.
So I was focusing, you would be a great candidate because I've been really focusing on revisiting some of the things that we learned from our training because we went through the program and now we're coaches and we have to think back. Now, what was that tool? One of our very first trainings was on laser.
Breakthrough laser?
Breakthrough laser coaching. Just for that very reason. It's a great tool, but how many of us remembered exactly how we use that tool? So I've been trying to focus on revisiting our tools to just re-highlight those so we could be more proficient with them as coaches. So that would be great.
Absolutely.
We'd love to have you back. Our group is growing. We're almost 440 iPEC graduates at this point.
I love it.
And just this week, I had about close to 15 more coaches join the group. I have coaches joining weekly. So as I'm getting them, I'm just sticking them in pairs and they're going off and doing their barter coaching together. It's phenomenal.
Greg, you're amazing. And Greg, thank you very much for doing all this. This is a lot of work, organizing, just setting this all up, communicating with everybody. My God. And it really is a gift. So thank you. And
thank you. I love it. I feel like I recognize everybody's name here. I even can tell you who just recently joined our group. So it's really cool to see everybody here. I'm just really happy that they're getting value out of this program. There's obviously a need for this practice to continue for people. So I'm glad that I'm able to create a community where they can do that. Barb, thank you so much. Coaches, thank all of you for taking time out of your lunch break and your work schedules to be here for training. I have more training coming up next month in April with another coach who's going to be providing some more information on a specialty that she works in. So be looking for that in April. It'll be at the end of the month, so we have time to coordinate, but be on the lookout because I'm going to try and do these monthly for you to add some value.
Very cool.
All right.
Love it.
Barb,
Thanks,
have a great weekend, everybody, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.